All right, hello everyone. Huge news. I don't know if I've mentioned this anywhere else, but I have successfully, finally, managed to stain and isolate, not really isolate, observe my white blood cells. This was something that I've wanted to do for ages. As we can see here on the screen, this is a lymphocyte. Now, this is only using methylene blue as a stain. Different cells are highlighted by different stains, and some white blood cells are very nicely kind of highlighted by methylene blue. Others require a little addition, like eosin, which can help to distinguish things like eosinophils, I'm pretty sure. Some of them have granules as well that are easier to see. But one of the reasons for wanting to do this is it means that I can now do like actual medical tracking in the way of I can see whether my blood is suddenly flushed with immature cells, which could be like a cancer sign. I could see if my lymphocytes are weirdly formed. That could be another cancer sign. I can do a differential leukocyte count, which is where you count up all the different types of cells and it gives you a proportion. So say you count up 100 cells and then you make a note of which is which type, and then that basically gives you like a percentage, and that can change over time, and the fluctuation in percentage can give you clues for different diseases or just general health tracking. So I kind of want to try and do one of those now, even though I know, this is the very first stain. It's an incomplete stain, so it's not highlighting all of the leukocyte features. I still might just do a count out of practice. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I made this grid overlay on the screen to help me perform counts. So the way it will generally work is I will scan back and forth. So I'll scan like this. So we'll go on the horizontal and I'll go until I'm pretty sure the smear is done. And then I will go up vertically to where I'm pretty sure like the grid wasn't before. And then we can go back and do the count there. And basically whenever a cell enters the grid, I take a note for what type I think it is, and then I add it to the tally. So these two will be neutrophils, for example, in the grid, and then we proceed along. Now, there's variable thickness, and in some cases, a lot of things are going to be stained that I won't know what they are. I might say that there are two neutrophils there, although it's kind of hard to tell. Their nuclei is kind of distinctive. What I can imagine is because this is just methylene stain, I may only be able to distinguish lymphocytes and neutrophils, at least with my current knowledge. So if I bump into anything that I think it's a white cell, but I don't know what type it is, then instead of ignoring it, I might just use a question mark category. So for example, the thing in the middle of the screen here, that might be a different type of white cell, but we can't tell. As I pan along, I may need to make some, there we go, adjustments to focus as well. So let's reset that. I need to pick a starting point that's not near like an overclumped area. I think this was my original marker. So again, to clarify, I am learning. So if there's any scientists, especially people with a history in hematology watching, I know this is going to be wrong. I am working on the next part of the staining process, but just for the practice of it, I figure I'll try doing an inaccurate differential count. All right, so I've got a little list and I've got a reference. It's from some of my learning material. I've got like a little visual key as well. But to be honest, if I can only see neutrophils and lymphocytes, they're very easy to distinguish from each other. Monocytes are a bit harder, but I'm not sure if I can see those. Also, I should note, one of the reasons I've been interested in doing this is because I have lymphocytopenia. And also in my recent blood tests, like my last two tests, I've had like 0 eosinophil count, which is not unusual because there is a very small number of them generally. But if I do get the next kind of phase of the staining done, it would be nice to actually try and find one so I can prove to myself that they are there. All right, let's start. So I'm going to go ahead and say that first one in the grid there is a neutrophil, just given the kind of like variable blueness of it. Going to mark that as 1. Move along. That's lymphocyte, I'm pretty sure. Continue. This clump is too strong. That's a lymphocyte. That is a neutrophil. Pretty sure. I don't think that dark one is. It might be a platelet. Moving on. Let's just refocus. Nothing here. I'm not going to count that one above. I will count that one below though, which I'm pretty sure is neutrophil again. Okay, I will say that will be the edge for us. So just moving up about here. Now moving backwards. Lymphocyte. Neutrophil. 2 neutrophil. Not sure whether to consider that one below. No, debris, unknown, uncertain whether any of those actually are. Too thick on the clumping, neutrophil, and unsure. No, I think that's just dirt there, kind of leaving a shadow. Unsure about these blue marks in here. Again, maybe the case of extra staining required to identify potential basophils. Don't know. Again, shadow. I'm gonna go ahead and say lymphocyte. Center down. Not sure about that next one though. Might leave that. Okay, that is out of range. Gonna go up and move along. Now, for that clump above, I just don't know whether to consider that anything at all. It might just be pure stain, like residue left over. I'm not going to consider these. Neutrophil below, I think. Random debris, that's... I'm not sure whether to consider that one above. Okay, neutrophil and lymphocyte, I think. Neutrophil and debris shadows. I'm now going to make an executive decision to migrate to a different patch of the stain, so one where I think things are more active. And I'm going to choose a starting point on the edge somewhere. Okay, so we've got this area that looks like the kind of Florida Keys type thing with a boundary between. We're going to start here, and then we're going to go right to left. What is that? Neutrophil? Obviously there are other things around it, but I'm not counting them unless they touch mine. Lymphocyte, potential debris, lymphocytes. Yeah, so there are definitely more cells in this patch. Nothing extending the edge. Okay, so from here we'll go down. There we go. Let's continue along. A clear neutrophil, quite a pretty one. I've done about 20 so far, I think. Neutrophil again, bottom. Lymphocyte, unknown or debris, yeah. Lymphocyte, assuming I hadn't already counted that one, which I might have done. Neutrophil, but even if I have already, like I said, it's not an accurate one. Lymphocyte, neutrophil, I don't know whether to consider that one. It doesn't look like it's a proper solid rounded shape like this one, which is lymphocyte. Debris, scanning, lymphocyte, debris, shadow, debris, weird shape, not sure about that. I'm going to put that under unknown. Oh, we've got two things. Oh, actually, I'm not sure if that is one. Again, probably neutrophil and debris. I'm going to do one unknown. I'm going to assume the other one is not a cell. Moving down, debris, neutrophil. Not sure about that one above. Two neutrophil. I'm going to do unknown for that, even though it's not a good shape. It might just be sideways. Lymphocyte. Lymphocyte, lymphocyte, lymphocyte. Okay, that's free. Speeding up a little bit now. Lymphocyte, lymphocyte. This is interesting. Lymphocyte is that one in the middle below. A bit more cytoplasm on that. Could that be a monocyte? Specifically the one below the center now. I think it might be. I might be wrong. More of like a kind of kidney bean nuclei. I might put it down as one. Even if I'm wrong. 2 leukocyte, 1 monocyte, maybe. Okay, next row. Is that a neutrophil? I can't see a boundary for it. I'll put that under unknown. Debris, erythrocyte, many. Neutrophil, gone by. Scanning, debris, scanning, more debris. Don't know whether to consider that as one. Lymphocyte. We move down. Lymphocyte. And I will... That's a really dark one, but I'll consider that. I don't think that is a lymphocyte because I think it's too dark. I'll put it under unknown. So 1 lymphocyte, 1 unknown. Lymphocyte. Neutrophil, no border visible, but I'm going to say neutrophil. So that's 50. I think I'm halfway through the count now. So it's taking longer than I expected. Neutrophil. Neutrophil. Going down row. Scanning. Lymphocyte. Neutrophil. That's lymphocyte, neutrophil. No. Lymphocyte, neutrophil, unknown. Gonna go unknown for that blob. I believe that's more debris. Reach the end of that row. Go down and proceed left. Neutrophil. Debris. 1 neutrophil, 1 unknown. And continue down. Neutrophil. Is that a lymphocyte or just debris? I'll put it under unknown. Continuing. Neutrophil. Don't think that's one. Lymphocyte. Oh, a pretty hexagonal pattern above. Top center grid. That's cool. Okay, we're going to move down. Leave that there. 2 neutrophils. 3rd neutrophil. Unknown. 1, 2, 3. Unknown. 1, 2, 3. Unknown. Not sure about that dot there. I won't count that. Neutrophil. Lymphocyte. Unknown. Lymphocyte. We're on 70 now. Nearly 100. Proceeding down. Next row. Not sure to count anything there. That's a bigger one. And what? Monocyte? Again, a slightly like kidney bean nucleus with larger cytoplasm, not as kind of spaghetti-ish as a neutrophil. I'm going to count that as a monocyte, even though I might be wrong. Neutrophil, lymphocyte, 75, proceeding, lymphocyte, more material out here. Okay, scanning, neutrophil, unknown, I won't count that. So neutrophil, unknown, going to count that as debris. Next row, neutrophil, lymphocyte, debris. neutrophil, lymphocyte, 1, 2. 80, neutrophil, lymphocyte, neutrophil, scanning down. Not going to count that. Moving along, back into the mass. Debris, unsure about that, or counting that. Neutrophil above, scanning. Hang on. Neutrophil, 85, unknown below. That's debris above the focal plane. Clumping, unknown. Whatever that one is, it's bigger than the others. I don't know what to make of this area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unknowns. Okay. Maybe lymphocyte? Malformed? Unknown again. This has been an interesting unknown region, that one. Lymphocyte, that's clearer. Neutrophil. And back in we go. Lymphocyte, unknown. Or monocyte, hang on. This one here, under the A marker, again, larger cytoplasm maybe? If it is one, and not just a visual anomaly. And then I'm thinking kidney bean shape. I'm going to mark it as a monocyte, even if it's wrong. Again, just practice. Lymphocyte before, unknown. Oh, that's 100. All right. Well, that took a little bit longer than I expected. So we've got neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, no basophils and no eosinophils, because I assume the additional staining is required. Under the unknown, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20 free. 0, 0, free. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36 lymphocytes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 38 monocytes. So let's see if that adds up to 100. I don't trust my basic counting skills, so I am using a calculator. Yes, that does. So, according to my first ever actual differential leukocyte count on my own blood, which may be completely inaccurate, I am 38% neutrophil, 36% lymphocyte, 3% monocyte, and 23% unknown. And of course, that unknown could be divided up into any of the others. Now remember, this is a differential, not a volume measurement, so it's not telling us anything about how many there are like per liter. It's entirely comparative between the types. So according to the Google AI overview, neutrophils are typically 55 to 70%. Mine here is 38%. That would be categorically lower. The lymphocytes are actually okay in this one. So usually 20 to 40%. This is 36%. So that's smack bang in the central. But again, our differential count is wrong because we have unknown ones. Monocytes are typically 2 to 8%. And that one is again smack bang in the range, which is interesting. Eosinophils usually 1 to 4%. Again, I'm not sure about that because I can't count them. And they didn't find any in the last blood test. And basophils 0.5 to 1. So it could also be the case that they're just not there. And banned neutrophils, which are immature ones, typically 0 to 3%. And they might have come under some of the unknowns. So again, we've got 23% unknown, which could be anything. So that's interesting. And this was done from 10 times magnification plus the extra magnification from the integrated camera. But we can get much better. So under my aiming reticule, I have a neutrophil. Let me just swap the objective. It's not exactly in the same place as it was. That's not what we were looking at. Here we go. So as you can see, we can actually get much better detail. 40 times magnification. I can go up to 100. I don't have immersion oil for that lens, but I do sometimes use hyaluronic acid as a substitute. However, I don't want to risk it leaking onto the slide, even though it has been fixated, but I have a feeling it will ruin the subject. I don't really want to do that. Let me turn off the overlays, and there we can get a clearer view of it. But I can still do the 100 without the immersion. It will just be not as clear as you want it to be. So give me a minute. There it is. So that's our neutrophil without the immersion oil. That's as close as I can get at the moment without risking damaging the subject. So if I change the lighting, sure if it highlights the nucleus a bit more. But yeah, it's cool to finally be able to do this. It's quite exciting now. I can continue learning and actually, like practice it in real life. Let's go to a much more zoomed out view quickly. There we go. Obviously at this distance it's quite hard to pick out any of them. But anyway, if you made it this far through the video, put either a lab or a blood related emoji. I would say put the blood one, but I don't know how YouTube responds to that. Probably fine. Thank you for watching. Maybe sign up to my Patreon, help me pay for more lab equipment. Oh, let me show you the stain as well while you're here. Hang on. Alright, so this is methylene blue, which has been diluted a little bit. Still kind of freaky to touch though. So this goes on after the slide has been prepared with a fixative. The fixative in this case is isopropyl alcohol, as I mentioned. So this is just distilled water, but I have the isopropyl in a similar dropper tool. So I just drop it onto the slide and then I just let the subject bathe in whatever it is, whether it's the fixative or the stain, for a few minutes. Then I rinse it off, let it air dry, and then check it under the microscope. Anyway, yeah, have a great day everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.